Hi, this is Marissa Dahl, and I am one of the instructional technology consultants for Heartland AEA. And I've been asked to put a screencast together for this presentation called Plugged into the Effects of Social Media and Screen Time on Students. The link to my slides is on the bottom, bit.ly/plugged in18. First, my why. My why, this is not always the most popular conversation with our students and families. But my why is because I want my kids to understand that technology can be such a great tool for learning, connecting, and collaborating. But it does have some effects. And so I want to make sure that we have teachers and families aware of some of the effects that our technology can have on our youngest students. This presentation is to get you to think. I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong, and I'm not judging, but I'm sharing the most current research and the things to think about when it comes to technology and social media. What do we know for sure about technology and use in our students? We know that how much they use matters. So when kids are spending 8, 9, 10, 12 hours on their phones or on their screens, when they're up till 2 o'clock in the morning texting, we know that that matters. We also know that how they're using it matters. And that's the biggest component of my job. I get the opportunity to work with students and family or teachers to integrate their technology to the highest level to enhance their learning, and not always for the drill and practice. And we also know that other factors might matter too, as well as that overall media balance and their general health. Is this a myth or a truth? Parents spend less time on devices than kids and teens. That's a myth. On average, parents spend 9 hours on their devices, and that does include for work. And we know that some of that is we have to, for our work and our day-to-day use. We also know that we are the role models for our students. And so are there opportunities where we can put our phone down and not look at our screen? That then will allow our kids to have more conversations with us. So this is the time for our phones down and our eyes up. So when I started on this adventure of learning more about the effects of social media and screen time, I walked into a classroom earlier this fall, and this was on the board. It says this is some data that this classroom had taken when they were starting their digital citizenship lesson. And so I have a phone. Many of the kids in fifth grade had a phone, which was an eye-opener for me because I don't have kids in fifth grade yet. But what was the most heartbreaking that I found was that while they have the phone and they do have Snapchat, Instagram, which these kids are not 13, so they shouldn't. 9 of them don't have any rules or guidelines on how they can use their phone or when they can use their phone at home. And so my biggest sense of urgency by coming to you today is sharing you with the information to allow you the resources that we can give our families and give ourselves to set those rules and set those guidelines for our students. This is a short clip. It's like not very long, just a few minutes, because it's just a few snippets of an overall video called "There's a Soul Behind the Screen," which you can find online. This was a collaboration between AT&T that they put together a video of students' interviews about their social media use. And so it was really interesting to hear it from the students' words. So I highly suggest the links to these videos are in the slides. And so you can go ahead and take a look at the short snippet, but then also the longer video if you choose. So throughout this presentation, I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks about some of the things we might not, vocabulary that we might not all know. The first one is, do you have a streak going? And this is on Snapchat. So streaks are controlling our students. I heard about a kid in this summer who their parents were making them go to camp, and so they had given his phone to a friend so they can keep his Snapchat streak going. A streak is when you connect with somebody, whether it's sending a picture or a video or a message, every day. So I send it to somebody, somebody sends one back, that's a 1. And then the next day I do it again, that's a 2. So if you have a streak of 24, that means you've connected with that person's connected with you back every day for 24 days. Kids are keeping these going for a year or longer. Friendships are also being lost, and fights are being breaking out because if somebody doesn't keep up their end of the deal and their streak is gone. When I think about these things, that we can laugh at them because we can't believe that our kids are doing that. But back in the day, there are things that teachers and parents laughed at us too about. The MASH or the cootie catchers. I'm sure teachers looked at me and thought I was crazy for doing those. And while that's true, these things were also kept private. I didn't have to, no one saw my MASH. I didn't have to show anybody my MASH sheet, my MASH page. Oftentimes after I got those done, I ripped it out and put it right underneath my bed and put it in a box so no one else would see it. Nowadays, these things are being put out there for the public, for all to see. Future employers, future teachers, everybody, family. So when we think about some of the things that we might have put out there, we didn't back in the day, now those things are being put out there for all to see. This is another video. It's a little bit longer, but it also talks about the effects of what we're seeing just in the day-to-day life of our kids. Walking down the hallways in the high school now. Just the other day, I was walking the halls, and many of our students were looking down on their phone. There wasn't a whole lot of conversations going on in the hallway. Even at the parks, parents and kids looking down at their phones. Even after school, when I'm picking up kids from school and I see they walk out of their school with their heads in their phone. We know that that is a quick thing for them to do, and they want to check out the latest news. And I can definitely vouch that I've been there too. But we also, once we know better, we do better. And so we can kind of find ourselves and be more intentional about when we do those things and when we do see our kids doing those things. What are some things that we could ask them or say to them that gives them thinking about, oh, maybe I should put my phone away. Smartphones and also social media is getting a bad rap even on the news these days. Many of them are saying they're contributing to depressed teens and suicides and unhappiness. But this is another statistics I found that this is for the ages of 2008, which is 10 years ago. I know, so I'd really be interested on what these statistics are now. But teens who responded between the ages of 13 and 19, 39% of them reported sending or posting sexually provocative images or messages. So when we think about the 13 and 19-year-olds we have in our lives, 39% of them have done this. What do we need to say to these teens? What do we need to teach these teens that tells them that's not okay? 48% of the students reported receiving such a message. 22% of the female respondents indicated that they have sent or posted nude or semi-nude photos of themselves online. So what females do we know between the 13 and 16-year-olds? Of 11% of them have sent inappropriate pictures. What do we need to say to them? What do we need to teach them to let them know that that is not okay? When we look at more of the data and the effects of the social media on our youngest kids, the youth suicides rate has increased since 2011. What else happened in 2011? Instagram and Snapchat came out. What are those social media platforms telling our kids, showing our kids, making them think that would increase our suicide rates? When I have this discussion with families and parent groups, I've often heard, but my kids won't have any friends if they don't have a smartphone and access to social media. I've had parents tell me, well, no, she doesn't have any friends, or I won't let her have phone friends, so and so won't be friends with her. What does that tell our kids? That they have to have social media to be friends with somebody else. I know how important it is to have friends in middle school and friends in high school. I know. But what kind of friends are we creating if we're only connecting with them over social media? By giving them a phone, we are giving them more than just access to friends. We are giving them access to the unknown. Here we have a 13-year-old girl who giving them a phone. She was also given the opportunity, or someone had also contacted her that might not always be the right person. Not what we want our 13-year-olds to hear. I'll give you a minute to read that. And here is her. Oh, no, sorry. And then we also have students who are using social media, we have men using social media to lure our underage boys and girls. Do our 13-year-olds think that they're talking to somebody who they really aren't talking to? Do they think that they're talking to people they know when maybe they aren't? Are our 13-year-olds hearing things, seeing things that they shouldn't? Are our kids, we're giving them access to things they maybe should not be able to see or hear. We also know that Fortnite is very popular. It was over the summer. And the latest is that child predators are chatting with kids through those networking games as well. But we can say that doesn't happen in Iowa. Some of these screenshots might lead you to believe that that's not happening. But here is a message that comes straight out of rural Iowa. This is a warning from a 13-year-old girl who was given Snapchat at the age of 9, and she thought she was so cool. She goes on to say that she's now realizing it's horrible. She says, when I was in 4th grade, one of my friends became in contact with a boy who claimed to be 14. Her mom ended up taking her phone away and looking at all the things, and he ended up to be a 40-year-old man who was talking to her 13-year-old daughter, 14-year-old. The police got involved in that. She was so close to maybe something that potentially could have been harmful. She goes on to say that parents that are reading this, please do not let your child have social media. They will face so much drama and hardship because of it, and they'll be so much happier without it. If a 13-year-old is telling us these things, but we also think, oh no, our fifth grader can handle it. I need to be able to contact them. We also want to know who else can contact them. When we give them access to social media, we're not only giving them access to people to talk to, but also articles and content that is unfiltered and free and edited and uncensored. On the left is a Snapchat, and if you click on the Explore page, there's the 3 little squares, and to the right of that image. That is unedited and uncensored content that's free for all users. And it is also altered by the age and the sex that you put in when you sign up. On the right is Instagram. If you go to the magnifying glass, that is the Explore page. And once again, that's also free and unedited, uncensored content. Well, I put it in that I am a female and middle-aged female. And also it knows the kind of people I follow. I follow a lot of teachers and a lot of fitness people. If I were to put in that I was between the ages of 13 and 25 male, my Explore page would look drastically different. I ask you to go home, and if your kids have access to social media, to take a look at their Explore pages, because their Explore pages will look very different than your Explore pages, and see what are the things that these students are having access to by having an Instagram and Snapchat account. How much time do we spend on social media? If you utilize some of the new features of the Apple operating system, it will tell you how long you're spending on each app, and also on the screen. There's also things available on Android like quality time that will tell you those things. But not only the time that you're spending on them, how is it making you feel? As adults, we know that that's not real. As adults, we know that some of that is some of the pictures that we see is edited. We know that when it's fake news, we know that it's just a glimpse into someone's life. But our teens don't know that. They don't know how to read those messages and know those things. They don't know how to control the emotions when they see a picture of people having fun and they're not there. They don't know how to react when it's, they're not that skinny, or they're not that pretty, or they don't have the clothes that those people do. How are we having conversations with our students and our kids that they then can think about the feelings and the emotions that they're having because of social media? If someone they follow is continuously making them angry or frustrated, do they know it's okay to unfollow them, to delete them? Do they know that they don't have to use social media? If it's making them frustrated or unhappy, when is it okay to take a break? When is it okay to delete it from your phone? Do our kids know that that's okay? I had a college student come up to me after one of the presentations that I give, and she was so appreciative because she said, I finally knew that Twitter was not working for me and it was making me frustrated, so I deleted it. I'd never been happier. And she's like, I really wish my middle-aged daughter could hear this story and know that she does not, or not, sorry, not daughter, sister, that she does not have to have social media. Because they think that just because everyone else has it, they have to too. Just because everyone else follows so and so, they have to too. They don't. By giving them this access to social media, we're giving them our most innocent and the most vulnerable and addicting in mind altering electronic drug. Think about the effects that a like is giving you, and an effect of a comment, or a hey girl, you're looking fine. What is that doing to our kids? It's creating those endorphins. Kids, if they don't get so many likes within so many minutes, they take the picture down because they think it's life's only about likes and comments. How are we giving our kids those same feelings and showing them that they don't only have to get those feelings from a phone or from a like or from a comment? They can get those from those real life conversations, those face-to-face conversations. Kids who grow up without social media miss out on nothing. What they gain is that deeper relationships with friends and loved ones, and they are never being bullied and having less risk for depression, anxiety, and more time playing. We simply need the courage to give them these. By holding back from giving our kids social media till at least age 16, you are giving them the opportunity to build those deeper relationships with their friends and their family, instead of the superficial ones that might maybe be being created over the phone. I do believe that having a flip phone and being able to text is something that our students can handle. I'm not positive, and I haven't seen how social media can do the same. This video is from the Today Show. They interviewed this group of 5 boys as well as groups of 5 girls about the effects of having social media and dating, and how the dating is so different now, and how they have to think about so much more than they've ever had to think about. And when you think this, you're kind of going back and thinking, wow, I'm kind of glad social media wasn't around when maybe when we were in high school or middle school. Even elementary school, they talk about what I found most fascinating at the end of this clip. The boys say how they would love to never know what it was like to have social media and date. That they would be willing to get rid of all of that and go back to how it was. And for these boys to admit that, I felt like that these kids, our kids that are in our high schools now, they might be the ones to show us the effects and make the right choices and make the different choices than we are right now with our use of social media use. They talk about, those boys also talk about how they've seen their brothers in first grade connecting and having crushes with girls even in first grade over phones. So when we think about first graders getting cell phones, we wouldn't give our kindergartners the keys to drive, nor would we be giving our fifth graders access to credit cards. But yet we're giving them access to phones. So when we think about the guidelines and the education and the steps they have to take to get both of these, we know that our kids are not getting those same things when they're given a phone. And so how do we give parents and families and teachers the resources they need to, when they do choose to give their child a smartphone, that they're being able to set it guidelines and to do it proactively, um, so that they know that they are using it for the good. So we do the best you can until you know better, and then when you know better, you do better. So I started researching more about this last March, and prior to that, I had a colleague tell me, you know what, I'm getting rid of YouTube. I just don't want my kids to look at it anymore. And I thought, wow, you're crazy, because that is the only way that I sometimes could get meals done, or I could, take a nap or something. But I also realize now that was something that is for me. That was more and less for me to get something done, and that wasn't allowing my kids to have different opportunities. When, say, I was cooking, to have them do some coloring, have them build with blocks. And so now I've intentionally made up more opportunities for my own kids, to say, hey, I'm going to give you 20 minutes and we're going to do this. We're going to color this, or we're going to build with these blocks while mommy does this. And so I've been able to more intentionally, thoughtfully provide opportunities for my kids to engage in those activities over giving them a phone for them to be a babysitter. But all truth passes through 3 stages, and this message has not always been, like I said in the beginning, the most popular one, and it's been ridiculed. When parents think that they are being accused of, giving them their child's phones too early, or when they're too young, it can be ridiculed. But they don't always understand that, there's guidelines that need to be put in place if you choose to. And also, secondly, the violently imposed, and the third, it's accepted and it's being self-evident. And so those are the stages, as I share this message, that I personally have gone through to know that I'm still on the right track. And this message is one that is important to share with everybody. What I've learned about from Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, and even the highest people in Silicon Valley, the top executives give their kids access to no technology. They have anti-tech schools in Silicon Valley. These people are the closest thing to technology, the ones that create these machines, and yet they have chosen to send their kids to anti-tech schools and not given. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates did not give their kids the iPad or a PC. Our kids need to be seen, heard, and loved more than ever before. One of the books that I read over the summer is Reset Your Child's Brain. There are a few chapters, especially at the end, I think are a little George Jetson, and I will admit that. I also know that this did have some really good, valid points about our kids needing nature, our kids needing physical touch, and several hours of unstructured play, conversation with adults, and creative outlets. We don't want technology to take away from those. I do believe that you could have a balance at home and at school, a balance of nature and a balance of physical touch, and with a balance of technology. But is technology taken away from something else, from one of these other things that our kids also need? Another book I read was Glow Kids, which I definitely one that I would recommend families and teachers to read. While there are a couple interesting topics in there, it does have some really good points about letting kids play and explore and create, allowing them an opportunity to be bored. We know the first thing that many kids and even adults do when they're bored is they go to their phone. But what strategies are we giving them to not to do that, to go to something maybe more productive? Our students need fully functional brains for the world of the future. So let's put that first. When we're gearing up to give our kids technology at such a young age, but what is that taking the place of? I mean, what is that time with technology, that screen time, taking the place of? Is it taking the place of being creative somewhere else? Is it just you being used as a digital pacifier. We know that our kids need to be able to be creative, collaborative, critical thinkers, and communicators. Are we using technology to engage our kids in that? We know that we need our kids to be hugged. There's an article that's linked to this site. Have you hugged a teen today? The article says that teens need to be hugged twice a day, or sorry, 12 times a day. I've been working on this with my own kids, and it is such an amazing effect with my own kids. Giving them just once, giving them each of them an 8-second hug. Just the other night, my 4-year-old said, "Mommy, you get an 8-second hug." And so I just know that we know that that physical touch is so important when most of our endorphins are being sent to us via a like or comment or a notification on our phone, that still it comes down to that physical touch that we all need. We also need more hands-on building and hands-on activities. I've seen for many behavior plans where you do tasks 1 and 2 and then you get iPad time. What if we added up all that iPad time or Chromebook time? How much time are we giving our kids in our schools just to play on their Chromebooks? I also know that there's many kids who can almost watch an entire seasons of shows within a semester or a week of school because they gotten their work done. What are we giving our students that when they are done with work or after they completed a task, what are we giving our students to do? Are we giving them activities to play with their hands? How about to color or to read? And not always going to the Chromebook when they finish their work for play. Another last tip I'm going to leave with you is Instagram. Have you created a Finsta? Do you know what a Finsta is? I created this diagram to help us think about, or to help you see if a student or our own children have fake Instagram accounts. A Finsta is a fake Instagram account that students create to post other things that maybe their families aren't following other accounts. So I created an image that you have to see if your student or child has multiple Instagram accounts. They can go to on your student's or child's device. If you click on their profile picture on the bottom right hand corner and go to the triangle at the top, and you'll see how many accounts are signed in on their device. This is where you'll see if they have multiple accounts. In one of the videos I watched, a boy had 4 Instagram accounts. So the first one was with the one mom and dad all followed. The second one was just a smaller group of friends. The third one was a smaller group of friends. And the fourth one was a very small group of friends. So depending on what he wanted to post and who he wanted it to see, then he would post it depending on that to which group he posted it to. So what are some policies that are and practices that you have in place for our students? This is an example of a cell phone policy that I've seen in our classrooms where it's a shoe holder where they put their phone in the slot, they take a marker and they write their name on it. Much research says about how phones need to be out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. And so by putting this away and allowing them to charge their phone while it rests in this, gives the students in the class the opportunity to be more engaged in their learning and not have somebody distracting them by looking at their phone or a notification going off. We know that a notification going off or someone looking at their phone kind of triggers the next person to look at their phone. Oh, what am I missing? What are they looking at? As I showed you already earlier in the slideshow, we don't know what our kids are looking at. And so when we think that one student might be being left out because they didn't get a text or they didn't get that picture, their mind goes to that, and then we may have lost them in the lesson. Also, are we creating screen-free zones in our buildings? If I want a time to go to the library, or maybe is there a screen-free zone? Not the whole library, but possibly an area of the library or a media center. Also, are there screen-free lunch tables? We all know that going into restaurants, we know that going to eat is an important time to have that conversation. And so are there tables where I know that I can sit and not have a friend being distracted on their phone? Here are some additional resources that you could look at. Colin Cartnich is one of the guys that I follow who does a lot of presenting around he says hashtag save the kids around social media and mental health. Some people find him like some people don't always like him, and some people do. But because of his message, and so I want to share it for that reason. Web safety, common sense media, and then also wait until 8th. Here's some more information about wait till 8th, which I actually would challenge you to actually wait till age 16. But and this is wait till 8th for smartphones. They're okay with giving them flip phones because you can't have social media on flip phones, but this is the pledge that you can sign, and also some information and lots of resources for parent groups who want to kind of arm themselves with research and reasons on how to have that conversation and why you're deciding to wait till 8th grade to give their child a smartphone. Also, where to start the conversation. Educate yourself, educate your staff, educate families, and educate students. The more that we can educate them on the effects and make them a little bit more aware of how much they're using and how it's making them feel, the better they are to learn how to self-regulate and have a healthier digital wellness. Here's a lesson that I found on the BIE website about using project-based learning to figure out social media and screen time. So it's giving these students an opportunity to research topics like online footprint, online safety, cyberbullying, self-image, identity, screen time, and wellness, and then giving them the task of sharing that with families and having a family night and parent night and letters. Some more research that you could, more resources that you could have on your iPhone and phones to help you regulate your digital wellness a little bit more. Going through meditation, there's some breathing exercises. Those are all website or apps that you can download. And then also some other resources on some of the videos that I've gotten some of the information from, as well as some of the quotes. The two top ones, some people like Simon Sinek, some people don't, but it's a great one on that self-esteem, gratification, and addiction. But we know that the leaders in our schools are in charge of our students' lives, and it's the whole student. And we know that if students are coming to school and they're feeling depressed and anxiety over social media, we are responsible for their students' lives while they're in our classroom. And we need to make sure that we have students aware of how they're feeling and how to self-regulate and how to control their emotions, how to communicate, how to react to some of the things that they may see or hear on social media. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and hopefully you got some great resources and things for you to take back to your students and families. I encourage you to email me. My email is in the bottom right-hand corner if you have any questions, and follow me on Instagram at on Twitter at MEDoll. I always share articles and videos there as well that I come across on this topic. So thank you and have a great day.